The World Sports Show on WPPMLP Philadelphia. Soccer-based sports talk covering local, nation, and global soccer. Broadcasting from the Philly Cam studio in Center City, Philadelphia on 106.5 FM.
And welcome to the World Sports Show. Charlie Flo here. John Nicricio, May the 8th, 2017. How you doing tonight, John?
Doing pretty good. Working the board, getting ready to talk some soccer.
Yeah, I think you're looking very stylish tonight. You know, I love radio, but sometimes, you know, not all of us can see radio. Maybe one day we'll get the webcam set up, but you got the nice golfer hat going on, a little derby going on, or whatever you want to call it, golfer hat. Not really a derby. It's definitely a golfer style type of hat, you know.
Yeah, I wore it just for our radio show.
I look great on radio. I have such a face for radio. But very, very exciting soccer weekend. That's the beautiful thing about the beautiful game. It's always an exciting weekend. There's not many weekends in the 365 days of the year there's not a soccer game going on. And in a given week, let's say not just a weekend, really started thinking about it on a 12-month calendar. There's got to be a professional game of some sorts every week of the year.
Almost.
I'm pretty sure. We'll have to actually do our crack staff on it, you know. Maybe we'll look into hire a statistician to crack the stats, because sometimes I feel like I make up stats, but you can. I think the beauty of stats is you can make them up. CJ Sapong, hat trick this past weekend on May 6th, 2017, Union undefeated.
Right.
See, you can just, when the moon is over Venus or something, you know, you can just pull stuff out of the hat. But no, we have a great show tonight. We've got some great guests coming on tonight. We're going to be talking everything there is about soccer in the Philadelphia area and the whole.
Almost everything.
Yeah.
We'd have to be here for a.
Yeah. I mean,
calendar
we've got
year.
quite a few continents to cover. Focusing on North America tonight, we'll touch a little bit of Europe, and you know, it's always a pleasure to be talking soccer with you, John.
Oh, thanks, man.
It was an awesome weekend because not many times I get to go down to Talon Energy Stadium and be a fan and just hang out and tailgate. So that was full effect, you know, and then the parking lot kicking the ball around and tailgating. And shout out to one of my coworkers, Stephanie Wright, brought ribs. It's the first time I've ever had ribs at the tailgate. So that's a hit with me, man.
There you go. Lucky they stayed warm because it was little bricks down there. It's still not quite summer soccer yet in the East Coast, especially the Mid-Atlantic states.
Luckily, the sun was out a little bit.
Little tease, but, you know.
Yeah, whatever the weather report says on your local broadcast, minus 10 on that, and add about maybe 5 to 10 degrees on the wind. So
who's the guest we have on the show tonight?
we got a couple guests tonight. We have Mitchell Torh, captain of Junior Lone Star FC team I'm a keeper coach for. And we also have soccer writer Charlie Cuttone. He's been around since the original NASL days, the original Cosmos. That was his first team of employment. We talked earlier today. We've been friends for years. He's got some great stories to talk about his days with the original Cosmos and also some stories of covering the World Cup. If you follow him on Twitter, there's a really cool picture of him on his Twitter account where he's actually holding the World Cup, not just holding a replica, because that's about the closest John and I ever gotten. He's gotten to the replica ones that's like, tinfoil covered with chocolate or something like that. So
that's funny.
They don't let me near trophies. I might curse them, So we got a great show tonight. So we're going to go into the topics that are trending in our league and around the world in the MLS, NWSL, and the Open Cup. In MLS action, Toronto FC remained top of the MLS standings after defeating Orlando City 2-1 behind Sebastian Gavoy. I can't even say his name.
Giovinco's
break.
Yeah.
The Philadelphia Union picked up their first win of the season with a 3-0 victory over the New York Red Bulls.
Into the Red Bulls area. Long, couldn't play it cleanly. Here comes C.J. Sapong, top of the box. He shoots, and it's in. It deflected by Robles, and the Union have a lead.
So there you have it. C.J. Sapong scoring the first of his 3 goals. The second hat trick en route to the Union's first win of the season. Very, very impressive role. Scored 2 other goals, 1 more in field of play and 1 from a PK. In WSL play, the Women's National Soccer League, North Carolina Courage remained perfect with a 1-0 win over Boston yesterday. And here we go.
Dahlkemper's delivery headed by Urseng, hits off the crossbar, and it's buried by Jess McDonald. Well, she is now number 1 on the NWSL all-time goal list. Jess McDonald had the opener last week against Orlando, and on the road here in Boston, she gives the Courage a 1-0 lead.
Jess McDonald's lone goal put her top of as the NWSL all-time leading scorer with 33 goals. Seattle and Portland battled to a 2-2 draw. Washington Spirit beat Sky Blue 4-3 in a 7-goal shootout in D.C. KC and Orlando drew 1-1, and Marta scored her first NWSL goal.
But it falls right back to Edmonds. Edmonds through. Spencer gives it to Marta, who shoots and scores. Marta on the board in the National Women's Soccer League.
Houston Dash went on the road and got a 2-2 tie in Chicago, so each team picked up a point. Looking into local news, Junior Lone Star FC won 1-0 in Rochester to advance to the Amateur Cup Final, which will be June 17th in Horsham, Pennsylvania, versus Lansdowne Boys from New York. On Wednesday, Junior Lone Star will travel to Ocean City, New Jersey to take on the Nor'easters in the first round of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup, a first for a Philly-based club. So it's going to be a very interesting week in the week of soccer. We also have a lot of other things going on in the soccer world, but let's talk about the local flavor, the MLS. Union beating Red Bulls, beating their rivals 3-0 in Chester Saturday night behind C.J. Sapong's 3 goals, all 3 coming in the second half. And something I heard on the telecast when I watched it, that you usually hear it in more hockey, but a natural hat trick, which means he scored all 3 goals, and all 3 goals consecutively. No other goals were scored between it, so it is technically a natural hat trick.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think the way the game was flowing for the second half for C.J. Sapong, he could have scored maybe a couple more. His first attempt was a great inside-the-box header, and it was just answered by a great save by Luis Robles, the New York Red Bull keeper. So
that was save of the night. I mean, at that point, that would have been – that's the game right there. If you look back on it, that was your opportunity.
That could have been save of the week, but, once if you gave up the hat trick, it's tough. But it was still, very, very great save. And, Sapong on the night showed poise. They looked very direct. I mean, but let's get it straight. Let's take it back to the first half. The first half, the Union came out rather flat.
You read my mind, man.
They came out flat. The majority of the opportunities were to New York. Andre Blake came up with some very big saves, kept them in the game. And then the second half, it was that time of the, right after half where, hey, the points are up for grabs, and C.J. Sapong just turned it on. The first shot was a deflection that went in, but he was in the right position, making the right choice, and that's what strikers do. Find a way to get the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, he persistently stayed on it, and that's what I like about C.J. Sapong, that I think through all of this, not win streak. You can't really call it a losing streak because they've got, 4 ties mixed in there. But I guess you could say the unwinning streak, whatever term you want to come up with it. But lack of wins since last August. He has stayed mentally strong and gone out there and put 100% in every night, and he's hitting the back of the net. But the frustrating part is he isn't hitting the back of the net in a winning fashion. He's doing his job, but, at the other end, it's a two-sided game. You got to keep teams off the scoreboard. And one thing that really sticks in mind is the defense is doing their job, because that's technically back-to-back shutouts. You looked at that a week ago, they tied 0-0 in L.A., so half the game is good. The other half is they didn't score. But, going to L.A. and pitching a shutout, coming home to Red Bull, pitching a shutout, I mean, those are two perennial clubs in the MLS that are always in the talks and always top of the table every year. So
that's right.
Blanking them.
Teams during Champions League every year, you know, they're going to make the top, at least getting, other than MLS competition.
Yeah. So, I mean, a win's a win. You and I did talk in the parking lot after the game that you had brought up the fact that New York had just gone on the road and played KC on Wednesday, and then to go on the road on Philly, I mean, you do have to factor in road legs, but great on, the Union to take advantage of that and just hammer it home.
Oh, you have to. And you have to do it in a big way.
No mercy.
Like a 3-0 win. So it's interesting, from the fans' point of view, good crowd, good turnout, very energetic crowd. I think that in a way, a lot of the players gave a lot of props to the fans for powering them on. I think that might have been they say, hey, they're just fans, but that might have been the spark, the energy, and they tell the truth, not just to sell tickets, but they do tell the truth. It does spark them and give them that little extra boost, which might have been needed.
Well, that's the thing is the cool part when the Union, which is about 99.9% of the time, they're shooting towards the river and they're going eastbound, I guess you could technically say.
Yeah,
so they're eastbound and down. So they're heading east and score all three of those goals in front of the supporter section and just giving that to the fans and feeding off that energy. It's they know what's up. These fans know what's up. The players know what's up, and because they see them coming in and out. You and I have been on the field in different capacities covering Union this year, and I've heard a lot of the, you call it negativity, but a fan has free speech because they are a paying customer and they have their right to express themselves verbally.
Negadelphia.
Never heard of that one, actually.
Yeah, I think it's a
Negadelphia.
It's a very knowledgeable fan base.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times the league and the the media want to spin the supporter section and make them the voice of the fans, but there's a lot more than just a club or an organization. It's the fans. It's across the board. Fans who actually go to the game. You got your social media guys, and you got your soccer guys who are just fans of the game who go and it'll give you your opinion. But there's a lot of knowledgeable players that are spectators down at the game.
Once the thing is soccer is such a sport. I think it's obviously here. It's arrived. We're selling out stadiums. There's no more of that. Let's give people the tutorial, because I feel like that was the neat part about the Union. It stinks that Philadelphia didn't get a team during the 1996 inaugural season. Philadelphia had to wait quite a few years to get a team, but by then, 99% of the fans in that stadium know soccer.
Right.
They understand soccer. We've been watching on regular TV for years. This isn't back in like you and I middle school and high school days where we might get 1-2 soccer games an entire year.
Yeah, and you can just tell by that, when you're going down at the tailgates and you got, first season you had, I'd say 75% of your fans with a non-MLS league jersey on.
Yeah, wearing an England red jersey in the supporter section.
Yeah. But now it's kind of rare to find, well, not rare, but, a lot of fans have their international favorites, but it's, it's Union or their top choice.
Yeah.
Game
By the way, fans out there, it is a violation to wear a domestic team other than the two teams playing. Hey, if you're coming there as a Red Bull fan, more power to you, all you. But the random fans that show up wearing a Juve or Chelsea jersey, hey, I love Chelsea, but don't wear a Chelsea jersey to a Union game, dude. You're a tool. I'm sorry. I would call you a tool because I always see that and I just cringe. I own a soccer jersey. I'm going to a soccer game.
Well, it get them in the door.
Yeah, all right. My bad, dude. You're a cool tool, if there's such a thing.
No.
No. So, definitely, changing the lineup a little bit, tweaking the lineup. I mean, we see Ray Gaddis back in there. He's a veteran. He's playing well. I mean, I like that. To me, he's one of the best defenders on the team when it comes to a one-on-one battle. He can just shut it down, and I like the work that he did Saturday night. I really like Jack Elliott's growing. We're seeing this guy grow right in front of us.
Yeah, I'm still a little puzzled by the substitutions. Like for like
it does seem predictable.
Gaddis for Rosenberry. I mean, just the lineup in the formation alone is puzzling as a fan.
I don't mind it so much unscripted in a game like that because they're winning and controlling, dictating. But in a game where you're tied or you need a win, you can't be predictable.
No. not at all. And
because it makes it very easy for the opposition. We've seen many clubs in this MLS and even the bottom teams or middle teams in EPL that you have to involve creativity. Don't just make an A switch for an A switch. Put a B in. Somebody's going to add a little something different. I mean, what is your urgency right now? You trying to get goals, so don't substitute in a guy that can do the same things as the other guy.
Yep,
just because he's got fresh legs. That's a big misconception. Putting in a new guy because he's got fresh legs. Well, if his fresh legs aren't doing something different, what are they doing?
Yep. Just looking at the substitutions real quick while we're on it.
Okay.
63rd minute, out Rowan Elberg in Derek Jones. Same time, out Ray Gaddis in Keegan Rosenberry. I don't know if it's a fitness, if it's a they want to just pick on New York because they're tired.
I think that's what Jim Curtin was thinking. Haven't spoke to him about that. I'll ask him, but just I think in a situation like that, that's more of a control factor. This game is you have the game in control. Get the bodies in that can do the same thing because the system you have is working, so don't tweak it. Because I think that was a night you don't tweak it. Whatever was working Saturday night was working.
You're bringing in a more defensive lineup than you are an offensive lineup, and you're still haven't scored yet.
Yeah. Oh, that was 0-0 then, yeah.
In the second half, so it's that really...
I mean, I the logic I'm seeing is Derek Jones, if they're starting to push him up a little higher, and I would love to see him play a cam role. I know it'll never happen, but I'm very biased because I coach with Junior Lone Star, and I know that's where he was the most effective when he was with our youth squads, is more of a cam role. And, hey, I'm old school. I don't use the numbers. I use we can have a debate about that another show, the numbers versus the actual field-named positions. But
he's a true 6. No, he's an 8.
He's a 7.5. He's a 3/4.
But, yeah, I mean, he doesn't make enough money to play that spot.
That's true.
To be honest.
Well, one thing I did notice, I don't know if you noticed it, that in the first I've seen, Bedoya was dropping a lot. He was almost in a center back role for a little bit, and that's the thing is, I want to see him up, but
I don't.
Okay, but I think he lacks creativity in the box.
In the box, yeah. I mean, that's not his position. That's
I know.
They had him up front, and he's wondering why am I in the 10 spot. But
we'll see. It's a season that hopefully is making a turnaround. I mean, you could look at it in small sample size that, hey, in the last 2 games they're unbeaten. They're on a winning streak. I mean, a tie and a win. It's got to start somewhere, So it's going to be a quick turnaround that they've got to get back on the field, and they've got some midweek games coming up. Like that May 17th game in the middle of the week. Those are always challenging for some, easier for others. I'm spoiled. I work in Chester, so when they have midweek games, I don't mind.
Yeah, that's right. May 13th away in D.C.
Yeah.
At
RFK.
Beautiful RFK.
Yeah, don't let the stadium fall on you.
No, so it's it looks like three games. Wednesday, May 17th at home against Houston. Houston coming in.
Yeah. So when Houston just put a huge spank, and they put up a 4-0 spot, I remember on Orlando this week, so I don't know if Orlando's that bad or Houston's that good. It's hard to figure out, man.
That's right.
We haven't seen a lot of spankings in MLS. I mean, granted, Minnesota's got a very rude awakening to MLS, but hey, Minnesota pulled off a 2-zip win over Kansas City, so it's still a very any given Saturday or Sunday type of league, the MLS.
Minnesota's only 2 points out of the playoffs, so even though they're -10 in goal differential, they're still 2 points.
The thing is, they got smacked around their first couple games, but at the end of the day, it's a point system. It's if you get the points, you get in. Hey, that's what got the Union in is the goal differential. So you can chip away at it.
That's right. You're listening to the World Sports Show on WPPM LP Philadelphia on FM on 106.5 on your FM dial. He's Charlie Flo. I am John DeCrisio. Just wrapping up some MLS soccer, some Philadelphia Union, going over it. If you like what you're hearing, or if you like, you want to question, comment, mailbag at worldsportshow.com. Hit us up. We'll talk. We have a segment that we usually go at the end of the show. We try and answer some questions. Get some recipes. Whatever you want to talk, we'll try and answer it.
Hey, we were full tailgating on Saturday down at the Union Stadium, so I know we'll be busting out the grill in the next few weeks when we're down there.
And also, we're on Twitter, World Sports Show, Facebook. Any interesting tailgate ideas? Hey, we want to share efficiency in the tailgate, how to keep the food warm and the beverages cold. Let us know.
Yeah. Let's turn the page for a few moments, John, and talk a little bit about European football. Champions League is full effect. It's looking like Real Madrid's going to be overtaking Atletico Madrid, and Juve is going to be overtaking Monaco. So, I mean, I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch, but we're really looking at a Real Madrid-Juve final.
What a dandy that would set up to be, huh?
You have an explosive offensive team in Madrid that can easily put up a 5 spot any night, and you have a Juve team that puts up a clean sheet about every night. So it's always curious how those kind of Champions League finals, no disrespect to Atletico Madrid or Monaco, but 99% sure it's going to be Real Madrid and Monaco.
That's, it would be interesting to see if that wasn't the final after the second leg of each game.
Yeah, each team would have to have an amazing comeback. But in this Champions League, we have seen it. We've seen Barca overcome a 4 or 5 goal deficit, with roll goals and all those craziness things. So it's very interesting to say. I mean, I will have to say that, put it out there, I'm going to be rooting for Juve. How can you not root for Juve? Gigi Buffon has been the face of Italian football, and as a goalkeeper coach, you and I both, you almost, I won't want to use the word idolize, but yeah, dude, I would love to be Gigi Buffon in goal for a day.
Just a little quick fact out there.
Okay.
I'm still older than Gigi by a year.
I'm older than him too. Everybody talks about this old guy in goal. I'm like, all right. Guys like that inspire me. I will never go pro. Okay? It's not going to happen. I've accepted that. I accepted that in like 6th grade. I ain't going pro. But to see a guy our age out there between the pipes and not just playing in a lower league, kind of like he's just 47-year-old guy playing in 5th division, if there's such a thing, but he's playing one of the top clubs in the world in Champions League and blanking some of the best clubs in the world.
Right. Am I right that he's never won the Champions League?
I'm right. You are right. That's why a lot of people, the things that he's won, World Cups, league titles, Italian Cups.
World Sports Show stat department getting it right.
Yes, on the fly.
Earning her wages.
Yeah.
I just got the message on our little computer here. Hey, we got they instant messaged me up from our department.
Yeah.
So we got the boys working hard tonight on some stats.
All right, chipping away there, buddy. So, I mean, we've also been spinning around the jokes about the Champions League final when they have, like, who you're going to root for. I've talked to my neighbor Kevin Hines that we're talking about making some shirts that say Fake Madrid.
Fake Madrid.
Why not?
Outer Milan.
I think we're into it, man. If somebody can send us other little cliches and puns with famous soccer teams, go right ahead, because I would love to see them, wordplay.
It's got to have a fat Ronaldo on the back.
What, for Real Madrid?
Yeah.
No, that's what you do. You put 9
Madrid, yeah,
and put 9.5 and put fat Ronaldo.
Right, like a jumbo 9, like a real,
bubble letter, which us that are in the sports industry or broadcasting live TV games is a nightmare.
Right.
Yeah. When these teams want to be creative with names and fonts, I'm like, dude, thanks, jerk.
I mean, that's one thing that, we go back about, on radio, and, me and Charlie, we've done play-by-play, color for teams. We've done, broadcast. And if we say a name, if we pronunciate it just a little bit wrong, we're getting emails.
Holy crap.
We get trash. You know what? It's a blessing that they do have YouTube games, but it's not a blessing that when they leave open comments and people can just go and write whatever. We would just get annihilated when we do.
It always sticks out. Goalkeeper, indoor game. I'm not sure who he played for. His name was V. Forsberg. But think about it. Forsberg and Forsberg. If you say it really fast, in the comment section, they're like, dude, jerk. His name is Forsberg. And I'm like, dude, I know. Because I'm looking at it. I see it's a V. But, I mean, that's just the industry, the sports industry that, man, you're under a microscope. And now that you and I have worked in the industry, man, if I hear a commentator butcher a guy's name just by a tiny bit, I'm not going to jump down his throat, man.
It's good, friendly fun. We pointed out. We do look at it and we try and correct it.
I don't take it personal.
But, I mean, even here, one stat wrong, one correction, we get emails all day and night. Yeah. Our World Sports Show stat department, they're making their money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, our next guest on the show plays for Junior Lone Star. His name is Mitchell Torh. He is the co-captain of them. He also played at Immaculata. We're going to get him on the line soon. As a lot of you guys out there know, it's being a big buzz in the Philadelphia area. Junior Lone Star, back in the very end near of 2016, qualified to be in the U.S. Open Cup. This is one of the oldest cups in the world. It is the oldest soccer cup in the United States, and we've got the pleasure of taking our Junior Lone Star team down to Ocean City this Wednesday, 7:30, Cary Stadium, a.k.a. the Beach House. The game will be broadcast online. We'll be putting that information out later. It's like a Go Live app that you can download and watch the game online. So, hey, if you can't make it down to Ocean City, all you out there listening in Philadelphia, no excuse. Talk to your bartender. Have them put it on at the bar. Put it on at home. We do have Mitchell on the line now. How you doing tonight, Mitchell?
I'm pretty good. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so big props to you. You know, we had a little bit of night off, but you went and practiced with the U20s, 3s, and the U19s tonight and got a few touches in before our game Wednesday. And how you feeling tonight?
I feel amazing. I feel energetic. I'm actually all ready for Wednesday already.
I mean, how exciting is this? I mean, this is just massive for our club to play in the oldest cup in the United States. I mean, has it really started sinking in with you guys on the team?
It has, and it actually has been for a couple of the guys. It's like a dream come true. It's so amazing. It's like a big news to us, but you know, a lot of the guys, especially the veterans, we all know how to cope with pressure and cope with big games.
Yeah, that's the big thing is you don't just want to be happy appearing there, being in these tournaments. We want to go there and not just show up and kick a ball around. We're going there with one intent is to win.
Absolutely. We are actually going in for a win. The entire club, we are ready. We know that this is a big game, and we, like I said earlier, we are prepared, and we know how to do with games like this. So we do stand a chance. Although we are underdogs, we actually are ready to take the game to Ocean City and get a W from there.
Now let's look back a little bit. We were talking earlier today. You joined Junior Lone Star in the year 2003. It only seems like yesterday, for us old people out there. But how'd you get involved with the club?
So I initially lived in New York since 2003, and when I moved here, I was introduced to Junior Lone Star by one of my aunts. And the first person I had met in that year was Coach Bobby Ali, and he actually introduced me to the under-19 club, team that year. I was only 17, almost 18 years old.
That's quite a story, and you played your college ball at Immaculata.
That's correct. Yeah.
Now, how was that, like, the balance of, a lot of players out there, you're doing the balance. You're playing college and Junior Lone Star, and you still maintain, your loyalty and you're still with the club, and I'm sure that there's a lot of pride in that, just representing a team that has African roots to it.
Exactly. The combination of both Junior Lone Star, Immaculata, and obviously your academic responsibility, it just gives you a broader perspective of life and how to manage your time. As far as the club is concerned, it was founded by Liberians, but now we are so diverse. It's not even it's not even funny, and it's really nice that way. Getting ideas from other places, getting ideas from other nations that border Liberia and places as far as even Jamaica and even here in the United States.
Well, I think that was the neat part. John and I really got to know a lot of you guys at the Unity Cup, and we really gripped on. We were at the Unity Cup final, and just seeing, I'm sure. I'm trying to remember. Were you on either of the side, Liberia or Ivory Coast?
I played for Liberia.
Okay, I'm just making sure because I know there was some guys that are Liberians that played for Ivory Coast, and I bust their chops. But at the end of the day, it probably was just that pride of wearing the national team jersey and representing your country. I mean, and playing in a massive stadium. That must have been a dream come true.
Oh my goodness, that Unity Cup actually did what it was intended to do, and that was to unify everybody. It was something grand, and seeing a lot of the kids who played in the final coming from Southwest Philadelphia. A lot of them came from Southwest Philadelphia. Some of them came from New Jersey. So yeah, it was a proud moment for us. It was a proud moment for those from Ivory Coast, just wearing a jersey with the color of the flag on it, and actually meeting the mayor and playing at the Philly Stadium. Imagine that. It was something amazing, and it was something we would love to do again. And actually, I would like to thank the city for planning such a great event.
I mean, they set the bar even higher, Mitchell. I mean, you've heard the word that it's going to be in Lincoln Financial Field next year, so now you're going to be in a proper football stadium.
Yeah, I think you should embrace yourself for an intense and very, very competitive soccer game this fall. I don't think it's going to be that easy compared to last time.
Well, it'll be wider. That's the thing, is you guys played on a very narrow field. The Philly Stadium is a long field, but very narrow. But you put a couple African teams on a wide field at the link, full-length field. We're going to have a very spread out, a lot of balls in the air, great football.
It's going to be a back-to-back game. The Philly Stadium, the pitch was a little smaller, so it actually took our game away from us. But going to the link this year, hopefully when we make it to the final, it's going to be back and forth. Because I know for sure these guys know us, and we know them as well. And I really see us going to the final again. And this time it's going to be different.
All right, Mitchell, we want to thank you for calling into the show, and definitely look forward to going down to Ocean City and making some history for our club. So thank you for everything you do for our club, Mitchell.
Hey, thank you, Coach Charlie, and I thank you so much, you and your co-host, for inviting me, and I thank you for the special things you brought to our club, and thanks for our goalies. We appreciate it. We'll see some serious improvement.
All right, well, thank you so much, Mitchell. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, take care now.
That was Mitchell, one of our players, one of our co-captains on Junior Lone Star, said he's been with the club since 2003.
That's amazing. Good story, good local ties. You know, it's good prep talk for the event that's coming up this summer.
My heart's racing right now, dude. That's my biggest thing in the Open Cup is you and I are too old to be playing real football anymore, John, but you still get that adrenaline rush before a game starts.
Sure.
You just wish you could step on that field,
Absolutely.
you know, transfer some of that energy. So, you know, again, thank you for everybody at Junior Lone Star for shout out to them for giving me the opportunity, reaching out to me and recruiting me to be their goalkeeper coach this year. I mean, I'm flattered and appreciate, that a lot of these clubs really see the value of a keeper coach. You know, out of all the places I've worked, they really come up, field players come up and you have to understand goalkeeping and just asking me a simple question about the position, that's amazing. Because field players really, I recommend field players out there, take a goal class, just jump in a goalie session just once or twice just to get to see a feel.
That's right.
So we're going to take a quick little break. We're going to be right back, and after the break, we'll have soccer writer Charlie Cuttone on the show. So stay right where you are, WPPM LP Philadelphia.
This is Denisha Adams, and you're listening to World Sports Show on WPPM 106.5 Philadelphia.
Classic World Sports Show audio cut with U.S. Women's National Team defender Ali Krieger.
How are they gelling with you guys?
Great. Honestly, they fit right in. They raise the level. They put fire underneath of us, especially veteran players. It's really good. It's a healthy, positive, growing atmosphere, and I'm so happy to be a part of it and to help them kind of come up through the ranks. I don't really focus on my caps, and I never really have. You probably know more about that than I do. So I just take one game at a time. But, Rose, I think, tonight had a huge impact in the game. She had a few chances, and I was really proud of her to, have her first cap, her first game, and she did really well. And, that's what we need in this squad, and just to continue to lift the team and to put fire underneath of all of us. And it was really, really healthy so for her and really positive for her, so I'm happy she had that experience.
And now, back to the WPPM studios in Philadelphia. This is the World Sports Show.
And welcome back to World Sports Show. Charlie Flo here, John DeCriscio on WPPM LP Philadelphia, 106.5 on your FM dial, www.phillycam.org/radio/listen on the internet. On the line now, we have Charlie Cuttone, sports writer who's been around since, I guess maybe the invention of soccer in North America. I want to thank you for being on, Charlie.
Thanks, Charlie. I'm not that old.
Hey, you were around when I call like the original golden era of soccer in North America. You were with the original New York Cosmos, and I mean, and we were talking earlier. That's how you got involved with the New York Cosmos. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right. Very early days. I was actually working for the team. I started about a month before the team signed Pele.
Wow.
So that's really a great time to really get involved in soccer. And then I really I didn't know the sport at all before then. Most people here didn't. And I was only in just finishing up 8th grade, I think, when I started working for them. It was a summer job type thing.
I mean, did it really? I mean, when did it start hitting you when some of these big stars? You have these Beckenbauers and Pele and these big names, and I'm sure your generation had heard of these players.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably in 1975 when Pele signed, if there was anybody in this country who knew a soccer player, it was Pele. Even if you didn't know anything about the sport, it was the answer in a New York Times crossword puzzle, 4-letter word for a soccer player. But I guess it really didn't start to hit until 2 years later, in 1977, when the team moved into Giant Stadium, and that's really when the team started signing other big name players. Canalia had come in 76, and he was a great goal scorer in the North American Soccer League, and had experience in Italy and with the Italian national team. But he certainly was not a level of a Pele or a Beckenbauer, Carlos Alberto, and that really didn't start until 77, which was Pele's last year, and that's when we started drawing crowds. We went from drawing 30,000 one weekend to 62,000 the next weekend, and it stayed pretty much at that level through the end of that season.
I mean, that's the thing that blows my mind is, as you and I have talked about, like just getting those numbers of selling out stadiums, and then, I mean, there was no social media back then. I mean, a lot of that has to be, a couple little news clips here and there and newspaper articles. I mean, so what was the promotion like? Just getting, is it just word of mouth, or what was it that interesting, like the buzz it had to create?
Well, I mean, there was certainly buzz created by the media at that time. I mean, we probably, by 1977, we probably had over a dozen newspaper writers that traveled with the team regularly. The New York daily papers at that point, the Daily News, the Times, the New York Post, a number of the New Jersey papers, the Star Ledger, the Bergen Record, a number of the foreign language ethnic papers in the New York market also had writers that traveled. All the team games were on radio. Most of the team games were on local TV. So we had the 4 broadcasters traveling at that point. So we had a pretty big media entourage that was going with the team. But the two other big things, I think, in terms of promotion that maybe a lot of people don't realize, you think, oh, you just sign a big name and, kind of a build it and they will come. The team used to spend about $20,000 a game on advertising.
Wow.
And that's over a 18-game season in 1977 dollars. That was a lot of money. And the other thing was that the team did an incredible number of appearances. We used to joke, if we could get 3 kids standing on a corner, we'll go out with a soccer ball and do a clinic.
That's sick. That's awesome.
There were probably hundreds of appearances every year that were done for free. And it's funny when people ask me about, what started the downfall. I think one of the things was when they started charging for those appearances, which was in either 79 or 80. And then, if you kind of look at the attendance numbers from that time, that was about the time the downslide started.
Yeah, I mean, when you guys are putting those numbers, I mean, the thing that has crossed my mind is when you have a lot of those ethnic groups coming in that, the maybe first or second generation from Europe that they have a hard time identifying with the American sports here, and then that sport shows up, and it's an outlet for them, like you said, especially signing all those different international players. It's genius because they see an Italian guy, they can relate with that guy, and it's a sport they're used to, and I'm sure that's a big draw. You weren't drawing the Giants fans or Jets fans, you're drawing fans that are a fan of a sport that they have no access to in this country.
The funny thing is that I would guess that at that point, our audience was probably as much, if not more, American as ethnic. You know, and I'm talking about, you know, I mean, there weren't really the soccer moms that you have now because it wasn't a huge youth sport at the time. But I think that's what really kind of kicked it off. The growth of youth soccer was really spurred by not just the Cosmos, but the NASL all over the country. Brandy Chastain has told me, you know, she grew up in San Jose Earthquakes when she was a kid, and she went to their clinics, she went to their summer camp, and that's how she got into soccer. So I think really the whole generation that's come after that, and we're now probably 2 or 3 generations after that. But, you know, guys like Tony Meola, John Harkes, who grew up in the shadow of Giant Stadium, and I think they were both ball boys at one point for the Cosmos when they were kids. So that's really the whole youth soccer thing that got kicked off by the Cosmos. But, you know, so many of our fans, it was just really across the board.
Again, you're listening to WPPM LP World Sports Show. We're on with sports writer Charlie Cuttone. Now we talked about how you got involved with soccer. Now, how did you get into the writing aspect of, you know, someone doesn't just pick up a pen one day and say, hey, I'm going to be a soccer writer. How did you get into that part of it?
Well, when I was in school, I always knew, well, first of all, I knew I wanted to do something in sports, and I was very lucky to be able to kind of, walk into it while I was still in elementary school. I went to high school and took journalism in high school while I was working for the Cosmos at the time. And I guess I just basically, while I was still working for the Cosmos, started writing some things for their program and the yearbook. And then there was a small local paper in New York that didn't have a soccer writer. So I started covering soccer for them and did that for a little while. And started writing for other newspapers around the country, covering all kinds of events in New York. I covered every soccer ball from 77 through 83, covered a Super Bowl, covered a World Series. So just really kind of went from the Cosmos into sports writing full-time for about 3 years, then started my own PR agency, then got involved in ownership of different teams. I actually owned a team in the American Soccer League with a group of other investors in 1989-90, and then started the company that I currently have. We began publishing an industry newsletter called Soccer Business International, and that kind of morphed into doing the different websites that we did, and then that kind of morphed into our latest project, which is the book, the North American Soccer Guide.
Yeah, definitely want to get my hands on that, and I mean, just the history. I mean, we have it's interesting because when you think about it, we have a young history and then we have an old history. It's kind of like that two parts of our history that bookend. The 70s into the early 80s, and then there's kind of that our pro leagues that I was talking to you earlier today about that I grew up in the 80s where I would have to watch like Baltimore Blast games, things like that, the indoor game, and then we got the MLS in 96 because there was that long gap between actually having a high-level pro, soccer. So, I mean, you really had to love soccer, obviously, Charlie, to cover a sport that didn't have the top-level major league for it.
Yeah, and I think talk about the two parts of history. It really goes back a lot further than that. There were so many things that predated the NASL. And we cover some of that in the book. I mean, the book is more about, the current soccer landscape. Everything from MLS and the NASL, the NWSL, the premier amateur leagues that are in the country now, college soccer, youth soccer, the national teams. But we, have kind of a look back in the history. And, I mean, there was a high-level professional league in the 20s, and teams that played in major ballparks. And one of the interesting things that's in the book, which I'll admit I didn't do all the research for this myself. There was an encyclopedia of soccer that was published about 20 years ago, and we kind of updated some of it. But we've got a listing of stadium attendance records for every major stadium in the country. And it's kind of interesting looking back, games in the 20s and 30s played in places like the Polo Grounds and Ebbets Field in New York that drew large crowds. We're talking 35, 40, 50,000 people. Yankee Stadium was regularly a stop for big international games. Even in Philadelphia, there were a number of big international games.
Yeah, I know that Philadelphia had their team that Bob Rigby was part of, and the Philadelphia Atoms came in and they won it right away.
Yeah, they did. Which actually at the time they were the first expansion team to win a championship in their first year in any pro sport.
Wow, so that's a positive stat for Philadelphians. We're so used to all the negativity, but no, it's definitely great. We definitely want to check out the book, and appreciate you coming on the show, and definitely we'll get a copy of the book and read up on it. You want to give the fans out there where to get the book and the information on your book, Charlie?
Sure, it's available at NorthAmericanSoccerGuide.com.
There you have it, fans out there. Check it out. Charlie Cuttone, always great talking to you. Look forward to having you on the show again soon.
Great talking to you, Charlie. Thanks.
No problem. Again, that was soccer writer, sports writer Charlie Cuttone. Said covered World Cups, covered. One thing I love, and I would love to get some of these T-shirts out there or find the logos or posters of when they had the NSL. It wasn't like we call it Champions League Final or the Cup. It was called the Soccer Bowl.
The Soccer Bowl.
It's like... And I'm actually inspired now to go back and research some of these 1930, 1920s teams. When you're talking like Yankee Stadium, when I know a lot of fans were excited when MLS, introduced a soccer team that was going to play inside Yankee Stadium. But you do a little digging and a little jumping on the internet and find out, there has been teams played in soccer. We used to get excited when a American football team, plays in the Polo Grounds or plays on a baseball field. But to think, wow, back in the old black and white days, they were playing soccer on those pitches with boots.
Yeah, we have to at least spend about 5 minutes next time we talk to Charlie about promotions in the stadiums back in the mid-'70s.
Yeah.
I can imagine what they are.
Yeah.
60,000 people. What are they doing to bring them in? Like, what's the giveaway or what's the special?
What are you enticing
what's
me
the
with?
concession? Like, what's the fan culture? Man, we can go for hours on this. So,
well, even the part when he talks about the downfall of the NASL, everybody's got their opinions of why, but I think he really hit the nail on the head when he talked about like the free clinics and the appearance. Things like that don't cost the club money, but then to charge a nickel and dime the people at the bottom.
That's right.
We see that with a lot of different teams and players we talk to. I mean, you and I have a large network, and there's players that say, yeah, I'll come out, I'll make an appearance, and then there's players, I'm not going to name them, they'll say, yeah, I'll come out for $1,000. I'm like, never mind. It's like, what kind of budget do I got? But it's true. It's like you're nickel and diming. It's. I look at it as in charging some little kids or something. I get it if it's like something they're coming to on a regular basis, but to make an appearance is a tough thing to balance because it's such a drop in the hat that kid one day could be a professional, and it has happened. I remember Sinead Farley. She's been on the show. She just retired. She was like a ball girl. She remembers like meeting Mia Hamm and taking pictures, and then like other players with Christine Rampone. Think about it. She's in her 40s now, early 40s, still playing professional. A lot of her teammates are like, I came to your camp as a kid, or you took a photo with me. And just doing some of those free things, making those appearances, that player might be your teammate, and you don't want to leave that impression on somebody.
You know what? I hope in 20 years somebody from our stat department gains big-time glory and fame and says, you know what? I was on your show. I was on your stat department.
Hey, man, sure. Why not? Well, that's the thing that you and I have been coaching about the same exact time, almost 16, 17 years, that it's coming to the thing where some of the 5-year-old kids that I was like the first age I started coaching was 4 and 5-year-olds was my first ever coaching, like 5-year-olds. They're not in college now, dude. Freshman in college.
I mean, it's getting to the point, to be honest, I can see kids, and I'm like, did I coach that kid? And I'm like, I think I did.
I coached him 5 inches ago when he was like
right.
5'2". Now he's 6'1", taller than me.
These kids.
Yeah, no, actually it did happen. I was over at Bonner High School, and they had some like a futsal workout, and I'm like, I recognize one of the kids from our keeper camp we did at Ridley like 3 years ago. Whenever the head coach, I'm like, does that kid ever play keeper? Yeah, he used to play keeper his freshman year. He's a senior now. I'm like, oh, John and I did a camp with that kid 3 years ago. Kid's like 6'4", 6'4", playing forward. So it's that's the thing too, you know. So I'm still gonna look old. You see me in 5 years, I'm still gonna look same old, you know. So, but yeah. So I mean, it was there's something that really we read off on the stats that, you know, it's in this book I definitely want to pick up is the NWSL and seeing that a book is giving NWSL its praise and giving, you know, stats. But we talked about early in the broadcast, a name that stuck out is Jessie McDonald, now all-time leader in scoring in NWSL, surpassed Kim Little.
33 goals, I believe.
Yeah.
33.
Last 3 seasons, 20-plus, 20-plus. So if you got Fantasy League, she's a first-round draft pick.
Easy.
But the thing is, she's been on several different teams, and I really think she's in Paul Riley's system, and she's there to stay.
Hey, if it works, I mean, it's tough to – you got somebody who puts the ball in the back of the net. It's tough to turn that away.
Yeah. And when you have North Carolina's defense and goalkeeping, all you need is one goal. It's crazy to think that Carolina is winning these games 1-0, 1-0. They mix a 2-0 in there. I mean, it's like – you guys exploited on offense tonight. But it's just a Paul Riley system. We saw him do it in Philadelphia. We've seen him do it. Didn't work out as much in Portland. There's some reasons why it didn't work out in Portland. But I think the biggest thing is let Paul Riley play the players he wants, let him have the system he wants, and he wins.
I think that, you know, the way the calendar fell for Player of the Month, I think that if it was maybe 1 week ago, we might have a different story here. You got a goalkeeper who's not letting anything in North Carolina.
Yeah, and not only stay undefeated, but I love the soccer term. You might catch some outsiders saying, what do you mean they're perfect? I mean, see, with soccer, you get the wins, draws, and losses. You have 3 different things that happen, but say perfect means they're getting 3 points every single night. I mean, that's perfect. And it's 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. You walk out with 3 points. Who cares that you won 1-0? I mean, it's early in the season, Stu. I mean, they're sitting on top of the table with 12 points. The closest is Portland with 7 points, and they drew this weekend. So, I mean, it's still wide open, you know, because, you know, top 4 get in. But, I mean, it's going to be a log jam for that 4 and 3 spot. But, I mean, early in the season, but Carolina might just pull away and just be the outright 1 seed.
Still early.
Yeah, it's still very, very early. But we've never seen it come where somebody clinches the first seed and gets the shield early in the season where they can just kind of sit back. But, I mean, I know Paul Riley, he's not going to sit back.
There's no cruise control in the league.
No. I don't know if there's any type of – I mean, there are other leagues outside of soccer that you can kind of put it in cruise control because – but with soccer, I think it's such a sport that if you're winning, you never want to tinker with that.
Because you have national team responsibilities, but there's no Champions League. There's no
this is it.
Open Cup. So that's it.
Yeah.
But thank you everybody for listening to World Sports Show. Charlie Flo, I'm John DeCrisio on WPPM-LP Philadelphia. Everybody driving in the cars in Center City, Philadelphia, and the surrounding area over in New Jersey, 106.5 on the FM dial. Good show tonight. Charlie Cuttone, awesome Hall of Fame writer. We'll definitely have back on the show again. I have so much, now that I think of it, that I want to talk about culture. Writing, this guy's been there and done it all. And Junior Lone Star, Mitchell Torh. I'm trying to get my pronunciations right because I don't want to get the emails like we talked about earlier.
Mitchell's a good guy.
The Junior Lone Star's got some big games coming up. Check them out. It's been a good show. NWSL and Major League Soccer's in full effect. So please email us in. Let us know what you think about our show. Let us know what you think about what you think about.
And what you think about John or me?
Just
don't hold back, man. I can take the criticism, man. I'm a grown man. I got thick skin.
So I do get a lot of emails. We're going to do like a little informal mailbag because people write in not questions, but they want feedback. And so basically they're asking about the show and how it works. So not only do we coach and we prep for as in cover games and that, but we also have to do production. We also have to do run the board. We also have to take photos.
You're working hard. You're looking good.
There's a lot that goes into it. I mean, it's not just, hey, we're here and we're going to talk on a microphone, but it's interesting, talking to different soccer people, getting a feel, seeing what people want to hear, but we're trying to get it in 1 hour on the radio, so cram it in there, get some soccer.
I look at, like, when you look at a soccer team, it's very similar, that a game is 90 minutes that you spend all week prepping. And it's kind of how you look at the show. I say it's maybe a 5 to 4 to 1 ratio. For every hour on radio, you're preparing 4 to 5 hours.
Easy.
Even more for you because you're doing the production part. I'm just getting all the stories together. You're doing the audio cut, which is really cool. Like you did the throwback Ali Krieger audio cut from She Believes Cup.
Right, and it's funny that we have fans of the show that can identify. They're like, oh, that was an April clip. I'm like, well, they're schooling me on
fans.
What clips.
Fans know.
You can't fool the fan, that's for sure. You come on, fake.
Maybe we'll make a fan stat base, man. Create a hashtag for that because the fans know the stats, man.
Right, and it's good. Got some emails, mailbag at worldsportshow.com. People driving on 95, getting it, on travels. They get back, going down south, going up north, New York, North Jersey. Hey, we heard you in Philadelphia. We're going to check you out and tune in. It's good to get that, talk. And as much as people driving around in the city, different areas, couriers, hey, I hear soccer. It's rare.
Yeah.
Neat
part now with technology, people have the Bluetooth in their car, and you got your phone. You can stream it through your car. Like I said, we're online at phillycam.org/radio/listen. Put that into your URL. Pull over. Make sure you're at a stoplight or something. I don't want you getting pulled over, but you can pump it through your stereo in your car and listen to us all the way till you don't have internet.
That's right.
I don't know.
I wonder if you ask Siri,
yeah,
World
ask
Sports
her,
Show,
him or her.
Let us know. Fire back. And big thanks to our stat department feeding us some stat lines because soccer is just so much. I mean, hundreds of game a day. I mean, there's so many different levels that our department got our interns working hard typing.
That's a stat for you, John. Like in trivia, we should make an over/under next week. We'll have an answer for you guys. How many professional soccer games are played in 1 year?
Yeah, right.
There's a number for you. Over/under. Throw me a number, John, before we answer the show. We'll see how close we are.
Top tier, like top level. So it's a
Oh, now we're changing. I would say that's true. That's a very hard. Yeah, you have to explain. Maybe next week we'll actually have a contest, and so you can get the closest. Maybe we'll make it tier 1, highest level in your country. But then it's such a debatable stat because everybody's going to come in. People are going to be coming in from Ukraine. Well, our league's top. Philippines, a lot of teams. Our league's top. Indonesia, like, I guess if they have a FIFA team.
Well, if you're a professional top-tier team, Indonesian, there we go. We're going off on.
Yeah, we're way going off. But, again, thank you, Charlie Cuttone, for calling into the show tonight. Thank you for Mitchell for calling into the show from Junior Lone Star, co-captain. I'm like a schoolboy. I'm going to be so pumped, but also it's all business. But just seeing our club in the U.S. Open Cup is a dream come true for a lot of these young men that have been working their tails off for years. Guys like Mitchell have been with the club for, 14 years. And to be rostered for the U.S. Open Cup this Wednesday, Ocean City, 7:30, Cary Stadium, on the boardwalk. Bring your popcorn and bring your cotton candy. He's John DeCriscio. I'm Charlie Flo. This is World Sports Show on WPPM LP Philadelphia.